Isolde was born under the red full moon. Something rare. Something marked as a curse in the werewolf world. Her pack hated her, wanting her gone, saying she would bring nothing but destruction. Her wolf was sealed before she could reach the awakening age, leaving her worthless, helpless, vulnerable. Then came the night that changed her life, stumbling her into the worst world possible. She was married off to the cruel rogue Alpha Drogo, a male bound by the curse of the moon goddess after committing an eternal sin. He was defined as the most ruthless male in the country, a shadow never to be dared. What happened when Isolde realized she bore the face of a ghost that haunted him from his past? The very woman who doomed him. Any child born under the red full moon was said to be cursed, and Isolde was among the unlucky. She was marked as an outcast before she could walk. Her wolf was sealed before she could reach the awakening age. Her mother, Nimra, known as the unwanted Luna after being accused of adultery, tried to protect her. But her protection wasn't enough. They hated Isolde. All of them. Most especially her father, Alpha Aldrich. Isolde stood frozen outside her father's chamber, fist curled as she listened to her parents arguing inside. Her mother's voice came as a desperate plea. "You cannot do this, Aldrich. She is your daughter too. This is cruel. I was the one you hated, not her. Stay out of this, you whore. Your daughter is of no use. Her life is pathetic. A curse and a disgrace to the family. I should have ended her the moment she was born. This is the only value she has. We'll marry her off to him and save the pack from those ruthless rogue bandits." Isolde froze in place. Marry her off to whom? How about you send a complaint to my father, the werewolf king? They'll send the army. Don't you think I've done that? Alpha Aldrich barked. We've sent complaints many times and got nothing in return. You are worthless like your daughter. Our marriage should have brought the werewolf royal as my ally. Instead, they abandoned you. Drogo wants her. There is no going back now. Drogo. As in Drogo, the rogue Alpha. Isolde's blood ran cold. Please, Aldrich. She cannot marry him. This is too cruel. Your mistress sealed my daughter's wolf with dark magic. She won't survive. Isolde was breathing way too hard. Her veins felt like they were on fire, and the world around her blurred into darkness. This couldn't be right. There was no way her father would be this cruel, to marry her off to the cruelest man in the country. Your daughter was 6 when she spread that nonsense. Miranda isn't some witch. Your daughter was born under the red moon and doesn't have a wolf because you slept with someone else. It's probably a curse the moon goddess laid upon you. You do not believe that nonsense, Aldrich. Isolde is your pup. Flesh and blood. And this is a way for her to prove it. She will marry him, and we'll save the pack. Isolde wanted to storm in and yell at her father. She wanted to let him know that she would rather be sold to the sickest whorehouse than marry the cursed Drogo. But knowing her father, it was impossible to change his decision. You shouldn't have made deals with Drogo in the first place. Her mother's voice edged with anger. You are the cause of this, Aldrich. Why use my daughter to cover up your mistakes, you old fool? Come at me. My daughter has suffered enough. Isolde didn't remember her mother cursing, especially at her father. She had always kept her head low, obedient as if immune to the jeers thrown at her. She'd forced Isolde to do the same as an act of protection, since their pack was filled with people wanting her gone. It was a miracle she'd spent 20 years living. The silence that followed was deafening before her father's voice came, deeply dangerous. What did you just say to me? Aldrich, I. Crash. Isolde burst into the room before she could stop herself. It was forbidden to enter the Alpha's chamber without knocking, but she didn't give a damn anymore. Her stomach turned at the sight. Her father approached her mother, whose back had cracked against the wall, a sword in his hand, eyes glowing with rage. In the next breath, he shoved the sword into her belly. Okay, pause for just a second. If you're already hooked by this story, go ahead and smash that like button right now. It really helps us create more amazing content for you. Now, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country or city in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We drop incredible stories like this every single week. Alright, let's get back to Isolde's journey. Trust me, you won't believe what happens next. The walls shook at Isolde's scream. Tears blurred her vision as her father whispered to Nimra that he should have done this a long time ago. Isolde met her mother's eyes. Tears filled them as they began to lose their light. Her blood poured, soaking her dress and pooling at her feet. Run. Run, my daughter, Nimra rasped as Aldrich ruthlessly yanked the sword out and locked his thick, heavy gaze with Isolde's. I'll rather die than marry Drogo, you monster. Isolde yelled at her father for the first time and bolted from the room. He yelled orders to the guards to catch her. Even though she had no wolf, she knew every nook and corner of the pack better than anyone else. And it was for this reason, to escape. She managed to slip away. Barely. There was an arrow plunged into the side of her waist, soaking her clothes in blood. She snapped it off, leaving the head of the arrow in her flesh, and wrapped cloth around it. She nudged her horse forward, riding through the dark forest. The hooves thudded against the grass hastily, trees hung above, stretching like claws desperate to reach the dark sky. There was only one place she could turn to. The Moonlight Pack was a pack away. The Alpha's son, Nathan, was Isolde's secret lover. He was her first friend, first crush, and first love. His father and hers were allies, so he visited frequently. Unlike the others, he never treated her like a curse, and their relationship miraculously bloomed into love. Nathan had promised to end her misery once they got married. He'd be furious to hear her father wanted to marry her off to the most ruthless man in the country. And she hoped to the moon he'd save her mother too. Hang on, mother. I'm going to save you. Reaching the pack, Isolde dismounted her horse with a painful groan. Her hand clutched the bleeding wound that had soaked her dress. It stung so much as she dragged herself to the building before her, the Alpha's house. Back off, one of the guards barked, crossing her path. His gaze flicked to her wound and back to her face with a look of disapproval. Nathan. I need to see Nathan, Isolde said. Sire Nathan? He gave her a snobby look. How dare you call him by name? You got a death wish? I need to see him, she said, staggering forward. They all drew out their swords, pointing them at her. I'm the daughter of Alpha Aldrich. Not an enemy. She shook her head. Tell Sire Nathan, Isolde is here to see him. He'll understand. You don't look like an Alpha's daughter. I can smell you, rotten, their leader snarled. Go back unless you want to lose your head. This was bad. Her father's men must already be close to finding her, and they wouldn't let her see the only man who could save her. She'd never visited Nathan in his pack, he'd asked her not to for his privacy. He'd been visiting only once in a while, promising that once his father gave him the Alpha position, he would marry her. You don't understand. I need to see him. She surged forward, only to be shoved back. Isolde yelped loudly as her tailbone hit the floor with a thud, the pain pierced hard, sending her head spiraling. Arrest her, the leader ordered. Just in time, the door creaked open. Nathan stepped out, clad in fine silk, with a frown. He asked what was going on as the guards explained. Nathan's eyes met Isolde's. His brows creased harder. Nathan, I need your help. Isolde scrambled to her feet, ignoring the pain. My father wants to kill my mother and marry me off too. I don't care whatever you are about to say, woman. Get out, Nathan cut in a tone he'd never used on her before. Nathan. How dare you let a cursed woman cross the territory? He snapped at the guards, his voice colder than the night air. What was he saying? Cursed woman? Her? The guard stiffened, mumbling apologies. One began to explain, but Nathan raised a hand to silence him. Then his eyes met Isolde's again. Colder than ice and slicing through her guts in the most brutal way. No recognition. Just pure, undiluted hatred. Remove her from here. Today of all days, I will not have her filth near my wedding. His words pierced sharper than they should, destroying her heart in a cruel kind of way. The space suddenly felt too small as Isolde stared at Nathan, wondering if he was still the male who had held her close on many nights, whispering promises in her ears. Nathan, it's me. Isolde, you're. What is the commotion, darling? A feminine voice cut her off. A tall, elegant woman appeared behind Nathan, slipping a hand into his. Clad in a fine wedding dress, she smiled at Isolde. Beth. Her half-sister. Beth threw a disgusted look at Isolde. Why are you here? My mother made sure you never heard of my wedding with Nathan. You're getting married to her? Isolde asked, pain and betrayal filling her voice. She looked at Nathan. His eyes were full of love as he looked at Beth. Yes, Nathan replied, voice flat. The wedding between me and Beth has been planned for a while now. I'm getting married, and the last time I checked, I didn't invite a mad person. The pang in Isolde's heart stung harder than the wounds and scratches. Nathan was denying her, and she stood like a lost pup watching him talk about marrying Beth. This had to be a dream. Nathan wouldn't do this. She'd given this male her all, remained faithful, and even given him her innocence. She'd trusted him, not knowing that all this while, he'd been planning to marry her half-sister. Her father and his men burst in. 5 hefty ones. They marched forward with mean determination, grabbed Isolde, and pinned her to the ground. She struggled with all the strength she had left, but none of them budged. She groaned as one twisted her arm, almost breaking it. No, no, no. This has to be a prank. You promised me, Nathan. You promised to marry me. Don't let them take me away. Marry you? Nathan scoffed. Disgust filled his eyes. An alpha like me will never downgrade myself to a repugnant level like you. My love is for your sister. A sharp needle pierced Isolde's neck before she could speak. The burn was excruciating for a few seconds. She cried out from the pain and the betrayal shredding through her system until her throat was sore. Then the world began to fade, and the last thing she saw was Nathan spinning to leave with an arm around her half-sister's waist. Isolde woke in a pitch-black cell. Cold against her delicate skin, scary and haunting. She'd been here before. The night she had stabbed the beta's hand for trying to have his way with her. She'd been dragged to court in shackles, bruised and shaking. Father didn't think twice about giving his beta the authority to punish her himself, even as her mother cried herself to the floor. She was tortured, the kind no one would imagine for an 18-year-old girl. She still carried the scars and burns from that night. After 4 days, Mother managed to get her out. While treating her wounds with a heavy heart, Isolde asked how she'd managed to save her from the beta, who was equally wicked as her father, maybe even more. But Mom brushed it off with, I pleaded with him. Isolde wanted to ask further, but she was afraid of what that answer might bring. Her mother had faced so much because of her. Unlike every mother who would give up their child the moment they were born on the red moon, hers never left. Never stopped fighting even as she lost her rights as Luna. Isolde needed to be strong. At least for her. Days passed without food and water. She didn't know how many. She felt dead, yet somehow, she was still breathing, mind fogged, hope distant. All she was occupied with was her father's cruel intentions and Nathan's betrayal burning through her chest. Finally, the gates groaned open, footsteps echoed, and she didn't have the strength to look up. Oh dear. A voice echoed, aged. It was Alara, Mom's assistant. Alara was another person who secretly didn't hate her, and it was all due to her love for Isolde's mother. They were good friends. Alara crouched with a panicked look, checking Isolde's pulse, and then ordered the guards to carry her out. She gave her water before giving her a bath. Food had already been made, waiting in her small chamber. After eating a little, Isolde asked about Mom, but Alara shook her head, she had no idea what had happened to her. Isolde's heart dropped. Could Mom be in torture too? Was she still alive? She noticed the pity in Alara's eyes, but she didn't have the strength to ask. The medicine Alara gave her made her head spin. She urged Isolde to lie on the bed, and as she did, it didn't take a minute before she slipped into darkness. Opening her eyes again, Isolde felt a bit of strength washing through her system. But the betrayal still stayed fresh, haunting her like the echo of a scream in an empty wall. She rolled over, only to meet her father's thick gaze. He was sitting across the room. Alara stood behind him, head lowered and hands clutching the hem of her dress. Isolde sat up, breathless, her voice weak but heavy. She stared at him, feeling every drop of blood running through her veins boil. She recalled how he'd stabbed Mom without hesitation and still couldn't believe he would do that to his own mate. "You're awake." "I was about to lose my patience and ask the guards to pour a bucket of water over you." Isolde's jaw ticked. "Where is Mom?" "Alive," he said flatly. "For now." Something between rage and fear exploded in her chest. "Why do you hate us so much when we did nothing wrong? Why are you doing this to us? Can't you tell? I'm trying to save the pack, but you and your mother are so stubborn it riles me up. How could you two be ungrateful? I let you both live in the pack after your sickening acts, yet you can't do a tiny little favor." He was still hung up on the fact that she would marry Drogo? And that was a tiny little favor? "I would rather die than marry him." "Then you shall watch your mother suffer," he said, and her heart plummeted. "She's also agreed that you marry Drogo so she won't watch you die." Isolde's heart skipped a beat. She scrambled off the bed and crawled hastily to his legs. Her shoulders shook, and tears blurred her vision as she looked up at him. "Please. Please don't do this. Don't do this to Mom, she is your mate, for the moon's sake," she cried. "I'll do anything. Just let Mother go." She hated the way her voice cracked before him. She hated the way his gaze made her feel so small. Pathetic and useless. "Then marry Drogo," he said, heartlessly. Tears flowed down her cheeks. She had no choice. She couldn't take it if Mom died. She was all she had left. "I will," she said, the words heavy in her throat. "Just promise to let her go." His lips curled in a cruel smile, like he'd won a great treasure. It weighed on her chest. She'd just agreed to marry a monster to save a pack that treated her and her mother like trash. "That is not all, little runt." He leaned forward, hatred etching every line of his weathered face. "Drogo has been a pain in the backside of many. Once you are married to him, you are going to find his weakness. One that will take him down for good. Only then will I release your mother." Alpha Aldrich's words didn't let Isolde sleep. The more she thought of it, the more the world felt too small for her to breathe. In the end, she caught a fever, her skin boiling hot throughout the night. Her eyes were heavy from the headache that threatened to split her skull. How could someone as fragile as she do what he said? Find the rogue Alpha's weakness? She was already terrified to become his bride, and he wanted her to find a way to take him down? She would die the moment Drogo discovered her intentions. She didn't understand her father's hate. She was his blood and flesh too. Hadn't there been a time he considered her as his daughter? Even if it was just for a moment. For a second. He should have ended her the night she was born. Isolde was locked in her room. This time, maids were sent to deliver her meals. There were guards stationed at the door to ensure she didn't escape before her marriage to the rogue Alpha. It still baffled her why Alpha Drogo wanted her as his bride. Did he know she was born under a full red moon? Did he think she was a curse too? Would he treat her well or worse? She didn't think it mattered to him. Alpha Drogo was rumored to be the cruelest Alpha, under an eternal curse of the moon goddess. Some referred to him as the devil who never dies. Some said he had horns like one of those terrifying beasts that hunted prey at night. But no one truly knew the real story behind the ruthless shadow. The door creaked open, snapping Isolde away from her thoughts. She sat up, watching Beth step in with her mother. Both held their heads high. The betrayal from Nathan was still fresh in her mind. A gaping hole in her heart that might never heal. "Oh dear sister, don't tell me you're still upset about my wedding with Nathan," Beth said, and Isolde glared at her. "He chose to marry me instead. It's not my fault I am more beautiful. You seduced him. I see the look in your eyes whenever you see us together. How could you stoop so low and become a snake?" Beth launched forward and slapped her. Isolde's head whipped to the side, and pain shot through her skull harder than it already had. "You're the cursed one here." Beth sneered. "Really? You thought Nathan was going to love and marry you? You were just a placeholder, a whore to get along with until he finds the rightful woman. Me? You deserve nothing less than the Alpha you are about to marry. He is cursed too. A perfect match for you." Her mother snickered behind. She stepped forward, holding her daughter by the shoulder. "Don't trouble yourself, darling. She is not worth the saliva you use on her. Like mother, like daughter. Miranda was the closest friend to Mom. After Mom's marriage to Alpha Aldrich, she turned against her, stole her husband, and after Isolde was born, she struck harder, claiming Mom cheated, claiming it was the reason why Isolde was born on the red moon. You are just like your mother. Always wanting what doesn't belong to her," Miranda said. "We are here to say our goodbye since your wedding is tomorrow. This might be the last time we'll see each other." Shock rippled through Isolde's system. "Tomorrow? Haven't you heard?" Beth chimed in. "The pack is already preparing to welcome him tonight. Gosh, you should see the terror on everyone's faces. Your soon-to-be husband is really something." Isolde stopped breathing, and her head spiraled into chaos. This couldn't be. "Oh, you don't know," Miranda said. "Well, I guess now you do. Better make yourself presentable. Your father needs an alliance from him. You should do us a favor and please him well. He'll be here any minute." Isolde couldn't hear their footsteps as they left. Chills spread over her, worsening her headache. He was coming. The Alpha was coming to take her, and she would become his bride. No, she wouldn't let that happen. She would escape, find help, and come to save Mom. Isolde reached her door, locking it from within. She dragged heavy furniture, guarding the door, careful not to alert the stationed guards exchanging boring conversation outside. Then she searched around for something heavy to break the window. Her eyes landed on an iron lamp in the corner, one of the old relics of Mom's. She grabbed the blanket from her bed and wrapped it around the window frame to lessen the noise. She couldn't alert the guards, they'd catch her before she even smelled the border. After that, she grabbed the lamp with both hands, the weight pulling her down, but her nerves were running and already edged with adrenaline. She paused. The sound would alert the guards. She couldn't let that happen. She moved quickly, wrapping the thick blanket around the window pane to muffle the sound, and slammed the lamp against it. A dull thud first. Second, a sharp crack. On the third strike, the window finally shattered. "Did you hear that?" one of the guards by the door asked. No. Quickly, Isolde stomped her feet on the floor with a loud cry. "I don't want to marry him. I would rather kill myself." "Father." "Quiet. Unless you'd like to be whipped," the guard snapped. She snapped her mouth shut, dragging a hand across her face to wipe her tears. As they continued discussing, she used the blanket to sweep away the jagged shards and slid a foot out to test it. It was a small window, but her fragile, lean frame managed to squeeze through. She landed with a soft thud, wincing as she almost sprained her ankle. She pulled her cloak close, concealing her red, disheveled hair and face. The pack was indeed bustling with guards and servants. Since Alpha Drogo was known to be dangerous, her father must have stationed more scouts around his chamber, as he cared for himself more than the members of his pack. Isolde followed the servant quarters, sneaking her way into the back sacred garden, a place with fewer scouts. The space was surprisingly empty, thanks to the moon. Then she heard it. Commotion. "What do you mean she is no longer in her room? Find her now." The hair at the back of her neck stood. She quickened her steps toward the forest before her, glancing back to see if she hadn't been spotted, only to bump into a hard surface, bouncing her back. She landed on her tailbone with a yelp and shot a glare at the figure. But her heart froze. He was not like any other man she had seen. Tall, broad-shouldered, with green eyes that pierced through the dark, his shadow was an epitome of darkness that screamed, "Run for your life." Yet it made her heart race like thunder rolling in her ribs. He froze the same way she did. His thick brows knitted with curiosity and something deeper. Shock, maybe? But not with the disgusted look that was always thrown her way. Who was he? Keep searching. She wouldn't have gotten far. No. Isolde scrambled to her feet, hiding behind the mysterious man, who seemed more dangerous than being caught by her father's men. He glanced over his shoulder, and she could feel his eyes, sharp, piercing, and boring through her skin. She couldn't look at him, he was probably glaring at her right now. Finally, he moved a step away. She met those eyes. They told a lot, like hidden dark stories that sent chills to every inch of her frame. His face was perfectly framed, and just in that second, she had to admit he was the most handsome male she'd ever set her eyes on. "I'm sorry." She glanced behind him, noticing her father's men getting close. She shifted closer, using his large frame to shield her fragile one. "I need your help. I will do anything you say. Serve you, be your slave. Anything. I just need to get out of here and find help to save my mother." She held his sleeve, not minding the way he froze and how his eyes turned colder. "I can't marry him. I can't." "Please." "Marry who?" His eyes squinted, his deep baritone vibrating through her veins. She hesitated, but it was better he knew if she truly needed his help. He was a stranger, probably one of her father's strong allies, judging from his sleek, strong appearance. "Alpha Drogo," she said, desperation etching her tone. His jaw thickened. "I will die if I marry him. I have no wolf to face him. Please. Help." He stared at her for a breath longer. The silence was deafening between them, only broken by the shouts of the soldiers spotting her. "So you're telling me I should help you escape so you wouldn't have to marry me?" It took seconds before his words sank in. She released his sleeve, staggering back with wide eyes and mouth agape. She tasted iron in her throat, and the world didn't feel the same anymore. You're Alpha Drogo?" The world tilted beneath Isolde's feet. This was him. The monster. The cursed Alpha. The devil of the territories. And he was beautiful? Before she could react, Drogo's hand shot out, gripping her wrist. Not harsh, but firm enough to keep her from bolting. "Your father's men are coming," he said, his voice low. "Do you want them to drag you back, or do you want to hear what I have to say?" Isolde's voice failed her. "Choose quickly, Red." Red. He'd called her that. Her hair, the cursed red that marked her birth under the crimson moon. The shouts grew louder. She had seconds to decide. "I'll listen," she whispered. Drogo's eyes flickered with something, approval? Relief? Before she could decipher it, he pulled her deeper into the shadows of the sacred garden, away from the searching guards. They moved through a hidden path she'd never noticed, emerging at the edge of the territory where a carriage waited. Black. Sleek. Ominous. "Get in," Drogo commanded. "Why are you helping me?" He paused, his green eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Because, Isolde, daughter of Aldrich, you and I are more alike than you know." "What do you mean?" "Get in the carriage, and I'll tell you everything." Isolde looked back at the pack. At the life that had tortured her for 20 years. At the father who'd stabbed her mother. At the lover who'd betrayed her. What did she have to lose? She climbed into the carriage. Drogo's words wouldn't stop ringing in Isolde's mind as she sat in front of a mirror, staring at another version of herself. A fine white dress clasped her lean, fragile frame, Makeup was light, and jewelry glimmered under the dim light. So much for sending her off into the hands of the devil. She looked pathetic even though this was the first time she was wearing a dress this beautiful. The door creaked open. She didn't look to see who it was, she was too lost to even think. "It's Alara, dear." Alara stepped forward, resting an assuring hand on her shoulder. She stayed quiet for many beats. "Maybe I should come with you." Isolde exhaled, clutching the hem of her dress. "Don't worry about me, Alara. This is my fate, and I'm not dragging you into this." Alara crouched, reaching to hold her hand. "I'm so sorry, Isolde. I tried to talk to your father." 2 guards showed up before she could finish. "It's time." Isolde met Alara's worried eyes and gave her an assuring nod and tight smile. She followed the guards, her steps slow and heavy. Entering the grand hall, she kept her gaze to the floor, not bothering to look at anyone. She could imagine the blank look on her father's face, the smirk dangling on the lips of her stepmother, and Beth's happy face as if she'd won a lottery. And probably Nathan's nonchalant expression, if he was in the crowd. The silence in the hall was deafening. It was like everyone had their breaths seized by Alpha Drogo's thick presence. Isolde couldn't bring herself to meet his eyes, not after last night's encounter. But she knew his gaze was on her the whole time. This pack, she had spent her whole life trying to prove her worth to them. To make them see her and not a girl born out of a false accusation of a perfidious act between her mother and a man that didn't even exist. But instead, they were marrying her off to save themselves. The ceremony started. The elder recited the wedding ritual, stumbling over words as if his brain kept freezing. Isolde couldn't blame him. She felt it too. It was taking her a lot of effort not to bolt out the grand door. Drogo's presence was too thick and powerful, too overwhelming to ignore. He was staring at her. She said her vow as the bride. She said it smoothly, like there wasn't a storm beneath her ribs. When it was his turn, he was quiet. So was the hall, one could hear a pin drop. Still in panic, the elder repeated the vows, but Drogo remained silent. Isolde heard someone take a deep, measured breath somewhere. Her father. "Is there something wrong, Alpha Drogo?" Aldrich asked quietly, not coming closer. She wanted to know too, but she still couldn't look up. Was he changing his mind? Drogo stepped closer, and she felt her heart ready to jump to her throat. For a second, she thought he'd call off the wedding, announcing she was too much of an outcast to be his bride. He didn't. Instead, he reached for her right arm, pulling it up gently. Isolde couldn't help but look at him. He wasn't staring at her, he was staring at her arm. His tall frame loomed over hers. He was wearing a fine dark suit that made him look unfairly handsome and dangerous. His hair was gelled backward, showing off his well-chiseled, sharp features. Drogo's jaw tightened. "Where did you get this?" She traced his gaze to where a whip wound grazed her skin from the night before. Red and glaring. The makeup artist had been ordered not to cover her marks and scars, including Alpha Drogo's handprint on her neck from last night. The reason was to make her look displeasing in the eyes of the rogue Alpha. Her father's idea. "I got whipped for enraging you," she said, expecting a smirk. His eyes met hers, and her knees weakened instantly. For a second, she thought he was going to say it wasn't enough, that she needed more discipline. Instead, his gaze went to the crowd, settling on her father. Unreadable. Without a word, he released her. "I do," he said to the elder like someone just asked about the weather. The elder pronounced them as husband and wife after they exchanged rings. No cheers. No applause. Just unbearable stares that wanted this to be over with. Isolde's world crashed as the fact weighed on her shoulders. She was married to Drogo Elston. She was married to the rogue Alpha. He drew closer, gripping her chin gently, prompting her eyes to meet his again. "I have a gift for you, Isolde," he said, tone soft. "Or should I say, wife?" The word wife felt like a brutal punch to her gut. Their sudden close proximity filled her senses. Was he going to kiss her? As she pondered what gift he might be talking about, he pulled something from his pocket and pointed it toward the crowd. A pistol. 3 brutal shots echoed. Gasps rippled. Screams pierced the air. Isolde turned sharply toward the crowd and froze. Her father was on his knees, screaming. Blood spread beneath him, his severed right arm lying on the floor. What just happened? Drogo shot him? She was pretty sure everyone had the same expression. She was in shock. No one moved until Drogo stepped down from the podium. He removed a cigar from his pocket. One of his men in a suit from the crowd immediately stepped forward to hand him a lighter. He lit it, took a drag, and crouched before her father. How dare you? Aldrich roared, rage etched on every part of his face as he shook in pain. Whatever Drogo shot him with was coated in wolfsbane, as the wound didn't heal. Drogo shot one of Aldrich's legs, earning another scream. Her father's men didn't even budge to help. Only then did Isolde notice the several men in dark suits in the crowd, like threats and warnings. You should learn to follow simple instructions, Aldrich. Drogo's tone was low as he spoke. Especially when it involves what belongs to me. Isolde's breath caught. Was he talking about her? Drogo straightened, threw the cigarette in front of her father, and crushed it beneath his boot, a casual blow to Aldrich's pride. Losing an arm will remind you, he said, looking at Isolde's freezing, shocked frame at the altar. Without a word, he began to leave. She took that as her cue because one of the men in suits approached her and said, "This way, Mrs. Elston." Isolde sat in the massive chamber that was now hers. Or rather, theirs. The estate was nothing like she'd imagined. Yes, it was dark and imposing, but it was also grand. Beautiful in a haunting way. A young woman with bright eyes and a warm smile entered carrying medical supplies. I'm Dr. Rihanna. You can call me Rhea. She placed a first aid box on the nearby table, pushed her glasses up the bridge of her nose, and looked at Isolde with genuine concern. Isolde hadn't expected kindness here. May I see your wounds? Rhea asked gently. Isolde nodded, turning her back to reveal the whip marks. Rhea gasped. By the stars. Who is the mother? She caught herself. Who hurt you like this? My father. His beta. Take your pick. Isolde's voice was hollow. As Rhea worked, cleaning and bandaging the wounds with gentle hands, she spoke softly. You know, everyone talks about Alpha Drogo like he's a monster. Maybe he is, in some ways. But I've been here for 3 months, and I've never seen him hurt anyone who didn't deserve it. 3 months? Isolde asked. He found me and my brother. We were running from a pack that wanted to sell us to humans for experiments. My brother was sick. The Alpha brought us here, gave us shelter, and had his personal physician heal my brother. In exchange, I work as a medic. Isolde processed this. So you're here by choice? More or less. He could have left us to die. He didn't. Rhea finished bandaging and moved to face Isolde. Look, I don't know why he married you, but I don't think he's the monster your pack made him out to be. Before Isolde could respond, the door opened. Drogo entered, his presence filling the room. Rhea quickly gathered her things and excused herself. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Isolde found her voice. Why did you shoot my father? Drogo poured himself a drink, his back to her. He broke our agreement. What agreement? He turned, those piercing green eyes finding hers. I told him if he wanted my protection for his pathetic pack, I had one condition: you were to arrive unharmed. Not a single mark. Not a single bruise. His jaw clenched. He couldn't even manage that. Isolde's breath caught. You cared that I was hurt? I care about people keeping their word. Why do you want me? The question burst from her. Everyone says I'm cursed. That'll bring destruction. Why would you marry? Because you're not cursed, Isolde. His voice was firm. You were born under the red moon, yes. But do you know what that really means? She shook her head. Drogo set down his glass and approached her slowly, as if she were a frightened animal. The red moon doesn't mark a curse. It marks power. Rare, ancient power that most packs have forgotten about. Your father's mistress didn't seal your wolf to protect the pack. She did it to weaken you, to keep you from discovering what you really are. What am I? You're a moon blessed. The red moon appears only once in a century to mark the birth of a wolf with the ability to heal, to see truth, to break curses. He paused. And I need you to break mine. Isolde's mind reeled. Your curse? Drogo's expression darkened. 50 years ago, I fell in love with a woman. She had red hair, like yours. She was kind, gentle, and I believed she loved me too. But she was using me, working for an enemy pack. She poisoned me, cursed me with dark magic before I could discover her betrayal. His fists clenched. The curse makes me unable to die, unable to age, unable to feel anything but rage and emptiness. For 50 years, I've been searching for a moon blessed who could break it. And you think I can? I know you can. When I saw you that night in the garden, I felt something I haven't felt in decades. A flicker of warmth. Of hope. His eyes met hers intensely. But I need you to understand something, Isolde. I'm not a good man. I've done terrible things. I've hurt people. I'm giving you a choice right now, you can leave. I'll protect your mother, set you both up somewhere safe, far from your father. Or you can stay and help me break this curse. Isolde's heart pounded. This was the monster? This broken, cursed man who was giving her a choice when no one else ever had? What happens if I help you? If we break the curse? Then I finally get to die. Or live. I don't know which anymore. His voice was raw. But either way, you'll be free. She thought of her mother, of the pack that hated her, of Nathan's betrayal, of 20 years of being told she was worthless. I'll help you, she said firmly. On one condition. Name it. We save my mother first. Tonight. A ghost of a smile crossed Drogo's face. I already have men extracting her as we speak. She'll be here within the hour. Isolde's eyes widened. You already. I told you, Isolde. I keep my word. Always. Over the following weeks, Isolde discovered her new life was nothing like she'd feared. Drogo was harsh, yes. Demanding. But never cruel to her. He trained her, teaching her to access the power that had been sealed inside her for 20 years. Her mother, Nimra, recovered in the estate's medical wing. Free from Aldrich's shadow, she bloomed, her smile returning for the first time in years. Rhea became a true friend, and slowly, Isolde realized the rogues in Drogo's pack were actually outcasts like her, people rejected by their original packs for being different, for being weak, for not fitting in. Drogo had built a sanctuary for the broken. But breaking his curse wasn't easy. Isolde discovered that to undo dark magic, she needed to understand it. And to understand it, she had to learn the truth about the woman who'd cursed him. Her name was Scarlet. And as Isolde dug deeper into the past, she uncovered something that shook her to the core. Scarlet had red hair. Scarlet was born under a red moon. Scarlet was a moon blessed. Just like Isolde. How is that possible? Isolde asked Drogo one night as they studied ancient texts in his library. If she was moon blessed, how could she use dark magic? Power corrupts, Drogo said quietly. Especially when you've been told your whole life that you're cursed. She embraced the darkness everyone accused her of carrying. Isolde felt ice in her veins. That could have been me. But it wasn't. Drogo looked at her, really looked at her. You chose differently. Despite everything your pack did to you, you didn't let hate consume you. That's why you can break the curse. Not just because of your power, but because of who you are. Something shifted between them in that moment. An understanding. A connection. Over the next weeks, as they worked together, Isolde began to see past the Alpha's cold exterior. She saw his intelligence, his dry humor, his unexpected gentleness with the children in the pack. And Drogo began to change too. The rage that had defined him for 50 years started to thaw. The night of the full moon, a red full moon, arrived. It was time. The pack gathered in the sacred clearing. Isolde stood at the center, Drogo across from her. The ritual required trust, complete and total. She had to reach into his soul, find the curse, and unravel it thread by thread. But there was a cost. To break a curse this powerful, the moon-blessed had to offer something of equal value. Isolde knew what she had to offer, her own freedom. Breaking Drogo's curse would burn out her power, leaving her completely human. No wolf. No abilities. Nothing. She hadn't told him. As the moon rose, Isolde began the ritual, ancient words flowing from her lips in a language she'd never learned but somehow knew. Magic crackled in the air. Pain seared through both of them as the curse fought back, dark tendrils trying to keep their hold on Drogo's soul. Isolde pushed harder, pouring everything she had into breaking the chains that had bound him for half a century. Just as she was about to complete the ritual, Drogo's eyes flew open. "Stop," he commanded, his voice cutting through the magic. "What?" "No, we're almost." "I know what it costs," he said, grabbing her hands. "I felt it. You'll lose everything." "I'm already nothing," Isolde said, tears streaming down her face. "I've never had a wolf. I've never had power. This is the first time in my life I've been able to help someone. Please, let me do this." "No." His grip tightened. "I've lived 50 years in darkness. I can live 50 more. But I won't let you sacrifice yourself for me." "You don't understand," Isolde sobbed. "This is my choice. For once in my life, this is my choice. Everyone has always decided for me, my father, my pack, even Nathan. But this? This I choose. I choose to save you, Drogo. Because you're the first person who ever gave me a choice at all." Drogo stared at her, emotions warring across his face, 50 years of feeling nothing, and now he felt everything. "Then I choose too," he said. "I choose you." He pulled her close and kissed her. Not a kiss of passion, but a promise. Of equals. Of choice. And in that moment, something miraculous happened. The curse broke, not because Isolde sacrificed her power, but because love, true, freely given love, was stronger than dark magic. The red moon blazed overhead as the curse shattered like glass. Drogo gasped, falling to his knees. For the first time in 50 years, he felt it, his heart beating normally. Life flowing through him. Mortality returning. And Isolde felt it too, her wolf, unsealed, awakening inside her for the first time. The moon goddess had given them both what they'd lost. 3 months later, Isolde stood on the balcony of her new home, watching the pack children play in the courtyard below. Her mother lived in the cottage nearby, finally at peace, tending a garden that bloomed with impossible beauty. Rhea had become the pack's head physician, her brother fully recovered and training to be a warrior. And Drogo. Arms wrapped around Isolde's waist from behind. "What are you thinking about, Red?" Drogo's voice was warm, alive in a way it hadn't been when they first met. "How strange life is," she said, leaning back into him. 6 months ago, I thought I was cursed. Worthless. Destined to die unloved and alone. And now? Now I know the truth." She turned to face him. "I was never cursed. I was never worthless. I just needed to find people who could see my value." "We found each other," Drogo corrected. "Two broken people who somehow made each other whole." A commotion at the gate drew their attention. A messenger arrived, looking nervous. "Alpha Drogo," the messenger said, bowing. "There's news from the Moonlight Pack. Alpha Aldrich has been overthrown. The pack members discovered his dealings with dark magic and his abuse of power. They're requesting an audience with you and..." Lady Isolde. Isolde's breath caught. Her old pack wanted to see her? Drogo squeezed her hand. It's your choice. She smiled. It was always her choice now. Isolde returned to her old pack, but not as the cursed outcast they'd rejected. She returned as Luna of the Rogue Pack, the most powerful pack in the territories. As a moon blessed with her wolf finally awakened. As a woman who'd broken an ancient curse. Her father was in chains, his power stripped away. Beth and Miranda had fled in disgrace when their schemes were exposed. Nathan approached her, shame written across his face. Isolde, he began. She raised a hand, cutting him off. You don't owe me an apology, Nathan. You showed me exactly who you were. Thank you for that. I was a fool, he said. I let them poison my mind against you. I believed the lies about the curse. I'm sorry. I forgive you, Isolde said simply. Not for you, but for me. I won't carry hate in my heart anymore. She turned to the gathered pack members, those who'd scorned her, feared her, hurt her. I know you all believed I was cursed, she said, her voice carrying across the crowd. You believed I would bring destruction. And maybe I did, I helped destroy the corruption in this pack. But I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to offer you something my father never did, a choice. Anyone who wishes to leave this pack and join mine is welcome. Anyone who was cast out, rejected, or made to feel worthless, you have a home with us. Because I've learned something important, the greatest curse isn't being born under a red moon. The greatest curse is believing the lies others tell you about yourself. She paused, letting her words sink in. You are not defined by the circumstances of your birth. You are not defined by what others think of you. You are defined by the choices you make, the kindness you show, and the courage you have to stand up and say I am worthy of love. I am worthy of respect. I am worthy of life. Dozens of pack members stepped forward, the weak, the different, the outcasts. They chose freedom. As Isolde walked away from the pack that had tormented her for 20 years, Drogo at her side and her mother healthy and happy behind them, she felt something she'd never felt before. Peace. She'd been called cursed her entire life. But in the end, she'd been blessed all along. Blessed with strength forged in suffering. Blessed with kindness despite cruelty. Blessed with the courage to choose love over hate. And that was the most powerful magic of all. Isolde's story teaches us that our greatest trials often hide our greatest gifts. What others call a curse may be your unique blessing. The red moon that marked her birth wasn't a sign of destruction, it was a sign of rare, powerful destiny. We learn that true strength isn't about having power over others, but having power over yourself. The courage to choose kindness when you've been shown cruelty. The wisdom to choose love when you've been taught hate. The bravery to choose freedom when chains feel safe. Like Isolde, many of us have been told we're not enough, not strong enough, not beautiful enough, not worthy enough. But those are lies. The only opinion that matters is the one you hold of yourself. Remember, you are not defined by your worst moment, your biggest mistake, or the cruelest things others have said about you. You are defined by how you rise. How you choose. How you love. And sometimes, the person you're meant to save isn't a prince or a kingdom. Sometimes, the person you're meant to save is yourself. This is the story of the cursed bride who became a queen. Not because she married an alpha, but because she discovered the alpha within herself.